Thank you, Dagmar, and good afternoon. You guys really know how to set a high bar for the new girl, don't you? Not only am I batting cleanup from the fabulous Amy Brenneman and Diana Agron, but you sent those 4 amazing young people up here to precede me. I'm a little floored. I am so grateful to be here in San Francisco as the new president of NARAL Pro-Choice America. This was my home for so many years. The one place I know we don't have to worry right now about rolling back women's reproductive rights. The leadership you have all shown in this movement has made California an anchor in this time of frightening attacks against choice, providing, as I say, a strong light to the West when so many other places have been flickering. You'll see as you get to know me that I love stories, and that seems to be the organic theme of the event today. We didn't actually plan this, but it sort of is where the power lies. Stories are the glue of movements, the engine of effective advocacy, the heart and soul of every struggle for rights and equality. So I love the origin story of this lunch. As Dagmar told it to me, the first San Francisco Power of Choice was born 18 years ago in her living room. It was not a luncheon first. The thought was that there needed to be an opportunity to wake people up. Reproductive choice at the time felt safe. After all, the Supreme Court had recognized a woman's fundamental right to choose 20 years prior. There was a Democratic president in the White House for the first time in 12 years. And it seemed as though a generation of women who had grown up with access would never be willing to go backwards. And yet there was a gathering storm on the horizon of extremists who were threatening to roll back decades of women's rights. Sound familiar? As Dagmar told me the story yesterday, I sat marveling at how this event has taken on a life of its own, becoming a mainstay for NARAL Pro-Choice America's national presence, creating a space every year where we can share the stories that define our past and imagine new realities for our future. But I'm going to admit, I had another creeping thought. I thought the more things change, the more they stay the same. Again, I stand here as a new president, called upon to rally new troops, remind people of the real stakes, and again, we face an onslaught of new threats to women's health, freedom, and dignity. So yes, our stories have always been important, but I'd also like to suggest today that they have never been important as they are right now. In some ways, I'm the last person who should be standing here. I did not grow up fighting for this right. As a middle-class kid who hit adolescence in the 80s, who had financial and geographic access to abortion services, I had this right handed to me. Thanks to the efforts of so many in and out of this room, many in my generation and the generations behind us have grown up feeling like equality is our birthright. The availability of birth control and abortion has allowed us to structure our life's choices, safe in the knowledge that we have control over our own destinies. For me, that meant being the first generation in my family to leave Texas, to go to college, spend years traveling around the world, from Brazil to Indonesia to Africa, fighting for human rights. It allowed me to work the grueling hours in the political jobs that I love, and it allowed me to gather enough experience to be standing here confidently today. How would my life be different if I hadn't had access to the full range of reproductive choices? I am grateful I will never know. If you grew up like me and my generation or the generations after me, think about how yours might have been different. Amy talked about it. All the young people talked about it. We all have a story. This fundamental knowledge that we have the choices shapes so many decisions, from where we go to school, what career path we pursue, what life partners we choose. The women of my generation have written our own stories, smashing glass ceiling after glass ceiling in business, in government, in our communities, free from the concern that an unintended pregnancy would derail it all. These visible successes set our expectations high and lead the next generation to feel secure in their rights, just as they deserve to feel. But at the same time that we've seen the first ever pregnant woman be named the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, at the same time we have a record number of women serving in Congress. At the same time we're seeing college enrollment of women surge. There remains a sinister and stubborn undercurrent in our politics that threatens to take away these successes. Look at what has happened just in the last month. In South Dakota, the state legislature already has a mandated 72-hour waiting period. That's not enough. Now they want to exclude holidays and weekends from that waiting period, as though women can't think unless it's a business day. In my home state of Texas, we're seeing family planning clinics across the state be defunded in a callous move that results in so many poor women living in rural areas being robbed not only of abortion and family planning services, but of basic health care. That means no cancer screening. That means no regular checkups. And in Mississippi, we're watching onerous restrictions being put on the only clinic in that state that still provides abortion services to try to force it to close. Some of these so-called trap laws are so ridiculous as to mandate how long the grass can be in the lawns outside the clinic, as though that has anything at all to do with the skill of the dedicated physicians performing this necessary care. And just yesterday in Arkansas, it became illegal to have an abortion after 12 weeks of pregnancy, long before viability, and even before some women know they are pregnant or can arrange to get the services that they need. What happens when all legal avenues to abortion services are choked off? What happens if this vocal and extreme minority is ultimately able to roll back time, to roll back women's choices, to take our decisions away from us? What choices do women face then, and where do they lead? We don't know the answers if we don't know the stories. When I was a teenager, a young girl named Becky Bell died from an illegal abortion. She lived in Indiana, a state that still requires parental consent. By all accounts, Becky came from a loving home. Her mother said later she would have been angry at Becky for getting pregnant, but she would have supported whatever choice her daughter made, just like most of you in this room. But the people who allow these laws to pass forget what it's like to be a 17-year-old, trying to be grown up, desperately not wanting to disappoint your parents. Forget about what it would have felt like to go face a judge, which was her only recourse if she didn't want to get parental consent. A stranger in black robes who she was expected to tell she had had sex. A judge, as it turns out, who never once in 10 years granted a single waiver to a young woman who had come to him. When I close my eyes and remember being 17, I'd like to think I would have made a different choice than Becky, but I don't know. I really just don't know. And what of those girls who are not in a loving home, whose unplanned pregnancy is a result of rape or incest, whose abuser might be the very one she is expected to seek consent from? As Becky's parents later said, we have been forced to learn in the most painful way imaginable that laws cannot create family communication. For a period of time, Becky's story was a real wake-up call for me and my friends, the kind of things our mothers used to whisper about, only it was happening to someone our age. I remember marching on Washington. I remember the feeling of power and outrage. But wow, that was 25 years ago. I find that not that many people know Becky's name anymore. And there shouldn't have to be another Becky for change to come. Unfortunately, the passing of time is not the only factor that blurs our focus of these threats. It's geography, too. For the safety and self-determination earlier generations fought for and my generation grew up with does not extend from sea to shining sea. We just proudly celebrated the 40th anniversary of legal recognition of the right to choose. Still, 87 counties in the United States of America have no abortion providers. None. Zero. And only 17 states make funding available for safe and legal abortion, so that choice is a real option for all women, and not just the ones who can pay for it. The reality is that the hard-won choice enshrined in Roe is still an illusion for too many American women. If we are going to make things right, their stories must be heard too. The story of the young woman headed for college who lives too far away from her nearest abortion provider and never makes it there, and so never makes it to college either. The stories of women who lose their jobs because of absences required to satisfy long waiting periods after their birth control fails. The stories of the girls who make Becky Bell's choices.